What's up, and welcome to the Uncle Cyborg Show, where we talk about the biggest topics and our favorite things about video games while keeping it rated E for everyone. I'm your host, the Hyrule King, and joining me is Matthew Hot Dog Eater.
I had a hot dog today.
And also joining me is Super Nola Man.
I also had a hot dog today.
I did not have a hot dog today.
That's why you're down there.
Today-
Chat, ban him.
Oh,
Put on timeout.
Today we are not talking about hot dogs, but we are talking about Prince, which I am very excited to hear about from Nolan. He's playing it a lot.
Yeah, blueprints, and we might still talk about hot dogs.
Maybe a little bit.
I don't know if this is a spoiler, but there's no hot dogs in blueprints.
You can't grill the dog.
You can't grill the dog.
7 out of 10, no dog.
Too much not dog.
Too much not dog.
We're hot dog eaters, not dog eater. Anyways. So yeah, this will be my pseudo review, I guess, of Blueprints, because I don't like to put a score on a title that I haven't rolled credits on, and that's the first thing that I'm going to say is I have not rolled credits on this game, and a lot of people are going to click off for that, but hear me out. As you probably saw in the title of this video, you might be like me, where you're trying to find the fun in this game, and first of all, I'm going to say, Blueprints, great game. Great game. But I think there's a core misunderstanding about what's happening here that is critical to how you will receive and enjoy it. Because I think people have been setting this game up with bad expectations. And I think that's why we're seeing such a polarization between what critics and reviewers are scoring and what now the general populace is putting out there, because it's not like it's getting review bombed, but you're seeing a lot of honest responses there where people are like, yeah, no, this game, it's cool. I like what it's doing. It's just not hitting the same for me. And I think it comes from the puzzle game nature of this. So the way that I'm going to go about things is I'm going to set the framework for it ahead of time and then talk about my thoughts for it. So framework of this game is just to simply remind everybody what you're doing in this game if you haven't played it. But Blueprints is a roguelite type game where you have inherited this mansion under the condition that you can venture through the mansion and find the secret 46th room. The way this game works is you have a grid of 5x9 of 45 rooms, and you've got to make it through to the secret 46th room. The way you do this is by drafting rooms, meaning you're given an option each time you open the door of basically 3 cards pulled, and you will choose one of those cards to place down a room in that location. And there's dead ends, there's hallways with multiple ways out, there's rooms that have special perks, there's rooms that have special consequences, there's rooms that have lore impact. There's all kinds of things that you're figuring through as you're placing down these rooms on your way to hopefully reach that 46th room. And through this, you were given at the beginning of the game 50 steps to go throughout your day. And every time that you walk through a doorway, a step is removed. And there could be other things that you do that could gain you some extra steps or could potentially lose some extra steps. There was one room that I just kept having to draft because I would have no gems left, and I would have to draft a room that cut my steps in half or something like that. But that's the gist of this game. So that probably doesn't sound like a puzzle game in and of itself. And that's what I'm here to say today, is that I do not consider Blueprints a puzzle game. And that's going to upset some people who feel very strongly and very good about these puzzles here. But The Legend of Zelda has some of the best puzzles in all of video games, and Zelda is not a puzzle game.
That's a great way to
Blueprints
describe it, yeah.
has excellent puzzles. It also has some really kind of puzzles. But the puzzles are not the core mechanic and gameplay loop of this. At its heart, Blueprints is a deck builder roguelite, meaning that this game is going to have more in common with games like Slay the Spire or Inscription, and especially Inscription, than it does with other puzzle games like The Witness, like Outer Wilds, like Manifold Garden, like Chants of Sennaar, Cocoon, all my favorite games of the last decade. Because I love puzzle games. Anytime a big puzzle game comes through, I have to try it out, even if it's got kind of mixed reviews, but it's got a bit of hype behind it. Things like Superliminal, things like
Baba Is You.
What was the one? What was that? Yeah, Baba Is You.
Is You.
Oh, love Baba Is You.
That's a
Love
great
it.
game.
Coding game. And I don't have a great brain for coding, but I adore that game. Marquette. And even though some of these hit with me, some of them don't, I still really enjoy my time with these puzzle games. Coming into Blueprints, that's what I was expecting. I was expecting a puzzle game out of this, but this is very similar to Inscription more than any other game, which is fitting because in the build up to the release of this game, I was so hyped about it because I was hearing from people like the creator of Inscription saying that this game was next level, that this was a game to end a lot of video games, and putting a lot of hype behind it. And then I hear from
Marketing
people,
talk.
yeah, right, yeah, and I hear people ahead of time who have hands on the game, who are either play testers for it or who got review copies that went out like a month before release. This game was developed over the course of 8 years, I believe, with lots of play testing, with few play testers, but lots of playing over and over again, to the point where some of these play testers literally logged thousands of hours into the game before its release and things like that. And so they can tell you all about it. There is a lot to do in this game, but it really is, at the end of the day, it's a roguelite deck builder, meaning that this game is more about how you draw cards and how you strategize getting from one point to the other, and how you play your hand more than it is about the puzzles. If that idea of basically a card game does not jive with you, you are not going to enjoy Blueprints the way that the critical consensus did enjoy it. And this is a rising genre in video games. It totally makes sense. And I think that this is a fantastic deck builder roguelite. I certainly enjoy this a lot more than Inscription because it has the puzzle elements that relate to me. What I do like about this game is that when you are successful in your main gameplay, which is drawing the cards correctly, strategizing, getting from kind of building things out well, making sure you're not locking yourself in. There's a lot of strategy there. Your reward for playing that game well is these puzzles. And these puzzles are the puzzles, they're no slouch. I mean, there's not like, there was rarely ever a puzzle where I had to like sit and really think about it. It was more, that's some interesting information. I wonder how that's going to come back in later. But what happened more often than anything else was I see something and I say, I know exactly what I need to do with this. How do I get there? Because again, the puzzle is more of a reward for doing the rest of the game well, for doing the card builder, the deck builder portion of the game well. So because that's not a genre that speaks to me. A lot of times I was holding on to these puzzle pieces for what felt like forever, trying to get back to these areas where I could finally do something with them. And sometimes the rewards were really great. There was, I mean, some of the rewards are really great. I had one where I was able to get extra steps to start my day. I had some where now I have extra money coming through at the very beginning of the day that I start with like an allowance, and I got to build that up a bit. I was able to start my day with more gems, things like that. These permanent upgrades that were pretty sweet as a result of completing these puzzles. But to me, a lot of these puzzles start to fall flat once you remove the A to B aspect of it. Again, I don't think there's any puzzle in the game where I was severely impressed with it. There was, well, let me rephrase. There was one puzzle that I thought was the height of puzzles in my experience over the dozen or so hours with this game, and there's a cool thing that is happening as you're walking into each room of the house, and I finally came across a room that had a little chart of the house and a couple little a chart of the house, and you find out that something that you've been seeing in each of the rooms is actually going to kind of go into a chart. You have a puzzle to solve in each room, and if you don't like spoilers, skip ahead 10 seconds. It's the pictures on the wall. There's a puzzle involving those pictures. They mean something. End of spoilers. And you take this information, and once you are done with it, you have basically a secret message that's given to you about basically about the safes in the house. The problem is that this information it gives you in the safes in the house that is supposed to be like this major hint is stupid obvious. It is so stupidly obvious. Like I got
you
through
solved the puzzle and you're like, I already got the information of this on my own kind of thing.
Yeah,
oh,
it was like no duh. Yeah, because at that point I'd only done 2 at that point, and I was like, okay, they're all going to be all the safes are going to be done this way. And then so I've done this puzzle, and I'm like, well, thanks game for telling me what I already knew. And this was such a cool puzzle that I thought was going to come out to something, maybe a lore something, and to their credit, maybe it could still be lore related. Although but anyways, so at this point, I mean, I've gotten a good chunk of the red letters of the game. I believe there's a certain amount total. I believe I have just over half of them. I've collected a lot of the stuff in the game. I know how to get to that room 46, and I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it over time. This is not a game that respects your time, in my opinion, because RNG is a factor. There are some rewards you get later on that can mitigate some of the RNG elements, where you can make certain places more common and less common. You can upgrade certain rooms to give you more materials or better benefits. But at the end of the day, these things are not given in a really great way.
You have to wait for it too long.
You have to wait too long for it. You have to do too much for a lot of it. And that is a trouble, especially for me as a dad who only gets to play this game in little chunks. And that's the big issue that I've been having with it, is that you can't save in the middle of a run, which is common for roguelites, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have a kid. A lot of times I just have to step away for a second. I have to take care of things. And when I can pause, that's great. But sometimes I just have to drop things altogether. So most of my gaming in the last year has been playing in little 20-minute segments. And then once or twice a week, I'll have, my time to actually sit down and play for a bit. And this is not the game that I want to be doing that with when there are so many other games this year that are more relevant to me. So if you're someone who wants to sink a lot of time into one game and you do like the loop of drafting these rooms and placing them just right and figuring out how everything connects, that's great. But the puzzles are just your simple, you find this information here, now try to get to this place. Where in the Metroidvania, I can just go across the world and figure that out. Now I'm having to do more of the card game aspect of this game to get rewarded with the payoff of being able to complete the puzzle that I've already basically solved in my head. So it's a super delayed gratification that feels like a lot of times it may or may not ever come. So I'm going to come around to finishing this game at some point, but it won't be soon. I'm now opening up the floor to questions. First of all, Matthew.
Yeah.
So
Matthew.
Representative from Salem.
Because I always forget stuff. So you're two things. One, so you're going back to the same room multiple times, like the same.
You can.
Or you can, yeah.
Okay. Does it
I
like?
think
Have you ever
this
played?
Is, this is a game that could, if you've never seen this game before, would benefit from seeing somebody play just a little bit of it. But basically, when you go, you have your grid of 5x9 going through the house.
Yeah.
You place a room as you go through a door. You walk into it. You can explore that room, and then you can go back to the room you were in before, or you can go through one of the doors of that room and place a new tile. You get another selection of 3 cards, and you pick which card you want to use of what you've been done.
It really reminded me of like a 3D version. If you ever played the board game Betrayal at House on the Hill, it's like that, but like 3D. So you're like literally placing down a tile, and then you like have to move your turn into the tile, and then you have to take another turn to go back out of the tile.
So my main thing, do you get the feeling of like you just like slogging through rooms to try to get to where you actually want to go, but you have to get through all this extra stuff first? Because like I've never played a game like this.
Where you want to go?
I've never played a game like this specifically, but like I don't know, like Resident Evil or Silent Hill or something, where you kind of like the challenge of the puzzle is just having to go all the way over to the place, and you're just like, okay, now I'm just like walking around. And I don't know.
There is a lot of that, honestly, and that's where I am. That's where I come back to with the puzzles. Is I don't think the puzzles in this game are any different than a Resident Evil game, and that's what kept coming to me. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I came back to memory. A lot of these puzzles made me feel like playing a Resident Evil or maybe playing some RPGs, where it really is just focus. Hey, exactly, yes. The puzzles are not the main focus of this game, and that's where I think a lot of people are hitting this game and having such confusion. Why aren't I enjoying this? I feel like there's parts of it I like. Why do I struggle with this so much? And it's because at the end of the day, I do not believe this is a puzzle game. I think that is bad genre alignment. I think that is poor advertisement, and I think this game would have a much clearer set of expectations for the people playing this if people went in expecting this to be more like, again, an Inscription, a Slay the Spire, more so than The Witness or even some of these like narrative adventure kind of games, because there is a pretty cool adventure element to it, because the way that they set this up is actually quite brilliant. This is just a genre that does not speak to a lot of people. And I think that's why a lot of people are bouncing off of it. If you clicked on this video, you're probably one of those people, and then this is clicking for you, and you're like, yes, this speaks to me directly.
All right, Mr. Bo, you got any questions?
Well, I actually played it with Nolan a little bit, so I know kind of the general sense of the game. That's kind of what because I remember you were talking about it with me, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing this really puzzle game. It's called Blueprints." And then I went over to your house. We maybe found like 2 puzzles. I was thinking after we like switched to Oblivion, I was like, I wonder if there's just more puzzles in different rooms and I just didn't see them. But
There is a lot of
puzzles.
coming back to things, but you have to get to certain locations
Yeah.
before you realize what was relevant in that other room. Because again, it is a lot of there's the chess puzzle, there's the pictures puzzle, there's a lot of things that just happen throughout the house in general, and then there are some things that are isolated to certain rooms. But the thing that is the bummer about my experience is that the most enjoyment I had in this game was sitting there and doing the three box challenge, where there's gems inside one of these boxes and you have to figure out the statements are true or false to figure it out, and then another one where you're given a dartboard and you do some more math kind of stuff. And those were like my favorite parts of the game, outside of the couple times I had like the big connection. But then I'm like, okay, the whole point in doing this is just to get me from one place to another to do more of the gameplay that I'm not really enjoying all that much with the card game aspect of this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's too bad. The only other thing that came to mind was does it roll credits when you get to room 46, or is that like the end point?
When you reach room 46, the credits roll and the game is done. But a lot of the fans of this game will argue that that's where the game really opens up for the first time, because you do now receive a little bit more information and direction and challenges, and you find out that there is a ton of lore about this house, about this family, about all their constituents. There's a lot going on in this game. But again, it's the editing that stuff is still the reward of doing this card-based gameplay, is how I'm going to continue referring to it. That stuff is the reward for doing the part of the game that, again, that doesn't speak to me. That's not what I came for. I came here for the puzzles. I came for the lore. And that stuff is the reward for doing the part of the game that to me feels more mundane and gives me a lot of trouble to open up my Xbox and click play on that when I've got Expedition 33 right next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's too bad that it came out right at the same time, because
Right.
I don't think it even holds a candle to Expedition 33.
Well, for some people it does. I mean, let me be clear that what they've done with this game is quite brilliant. It's they've put a ton of work into this game, and for fans of that genre, I understand completely why there's 10 out of 10 being thrown over all over the place, because to me this is the pinnacle of that genre. They really cracked the code with that. The problem is that's not a genre that I care about. So if I was going to be scoring this, which I'm not, this is not a scored review, because this is a DNF. Okay, I did not beat this game. This game beat me. But if I was going to score this, it would be like an 8.5 or a 9, because I do have some complaints about the game. But I think a lot of that comes from the marketing side of this. I wish there was someone who could have come alongside the developer and said, you need to frame this a little bit better. You may lose a little bit in sales at the beginning, but you're going to have a better lane to travel for longevity going forwards. But that's my thoughts on Blueprints.
I wonder if they thought it would sell better if they said that it was a puzzle game.
I think so.
That might be why they called it a puzzle game.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have anything else to add to that.
Hit that outro, Bo.
Remember that you can be a part of what we do here by liking and subscribing, and you can comment answering our question of the week for a chance to get a shout out to begin our next episode. And the question of the week is, what do you think of roguelites? Do you want to see more of them? Do you want to see less of them? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let us know.
Too many.
Want to kiss them?
We might tell you how wrong you are. We'll see. But that's going to do it for this week. Thanks for joining us. I've been the Hyrule King. And it's also been Matthew Hot Dog Eater and Super Nolan Man. And you have a great week.